Good evening and a very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining us on Face the Nation. Now, Zimbabwe, just like any other country, is moving forward in terms of adapting and improving into this areas of science and technology. Now, digitization has become the center of improvement in this particular sector, and this has opened up for innovation and entrepreneurship. Now, the education sector has totally revamped and adapted to the teaching and use of modern science and technology methods from primary to secondary level. And now it has also been the task of the tertiary schools to produce students who will be well equipped and adopt scientific and technological skills to be able to move development forward. Now, evaluation results for the 2023 fiscal year performance contract revealed that the Ministry of Higher Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technological Development was the second best performing ministry, which exceeded set targets. Tonight in studio, we're joined by Minister Professor Amon Murwira, who is here to unpack what the country is doing in terms of adapting to its modern technology, tertiary education issues, and also everything to do with the science. Good evening, Prof. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you very much, Farai. Good evening.
Thoroughly excited, looking forward to our discussion. Prof, maybe you could start off by addressing the implementation of 5.0 and how that's progressing thus far.
Thank you very much about that. We looked at the education design of this country under the instruction of His Excellency the President, Dr. Idim Nangagwa, in December 2017. His aim is that we develop an education system that produces goods and services, that industrializes this country. And the main issue of this country was, as the literacy rate is going up, in actual fact, we have the highest literacy in Africa, but the industrialization levels were either stagnant or going down. But yet we know industries are produced from educated people, from an education system. So we had to look at the design of this education system, our own education, which was highly literate but not industrializing. So when His Excellency said, you have an education that produces goods and services, we looked at our education design, and then we discovered, we knew, of course, that we were doing teaching, research, and community service, which means we're talking about producing workers, people who work, but work where, isn't it? So we then added innovation and industrialization, which is now 5 missions: teaching, research, the community service, innovation, industrialization, 5 missions. But these 5 missions of an education that industrializes a country also has to be based on the heritage of that country.
Okay.
Because not any country will develop with the resources that are not its own resources. Right. If you are in a land of granite like Zimbabwe, you build using granite. If you are in a place of permanent ice like the Alaska, surely they build igloos with ice blocks. Right. So it's quite an intuitive nature. If you want wine, you better produce it with Murwira, because grapes don't grow here.
Right.
They might coincidentally grow here, but really they grow very well in Italy, for example. So then we started looking at this education system, and we started the heritage-based education 5.0 as an education philosophy for this country.
Right.
Now, and we made sure that we had to put a legal framework on this education system. So we reviewed all legislation that had to do with the education, starting with the prime legislation, which is called the Manpower Planning and Development Act. And then we looked at all university acts, and we also had to start a new act called the Center for Education, Innovation, Research and Development, which is the legal framework upon which we were now embarking on a journey to implement Education 5.0 for the modernization, industrialization of this country. So after having done that legal infrastructure, and in fact, let me tell you that we did 5 things. 1, the programs themselves, right? What are we learning and why? What we learn have to be dependent on what this country's aspirations are. In science, in technology, in innovation, in all sorts of subjects. Then the staff should be oriented towards that. Then our infrastructure have to be oriented towards that, the physical and digital infrastructure. Then our laws, which I have now been talking about, have to be aligned so that our laws are able to meet our intentions. Because you must have an intention, but you back it up with the law. And then our financial orientation has to be based on all these things that I'm talking about. So 5 things that we're talking about. So now, by 2019, we had worked on the legal infrastructure of this country. We modularized our education. We had to streamline our programs. We had to scrap programs that we thought were not geared towards national interest and our vision. And then, what has been the result of this? Yes. If you look at the journey. The result of this has been, yes, we have been able to build the physical infrastructure of innovation hubs. Right. We have also been able to do a lot of innovations. We have been able also to start industrial parks. We have also been able to start agro-innovation in industrial parks. We have been able to fight COVID as the higher and tertiary education system being part of the nation's matrix of fighting COVID. We have been able to produce medical oxygen. We have been able to produce a number plates for this country, intelligent number plates. They are not just number plates. They are just not just pieces of steel. We are talking about intelligent number plates with QR codes, with the RFID radio identification, radio frequency identification systems. We have been able to do all these things because of a changed education system. Right. Because as you know, a country state of development is a product of its knowledge and skills, nothing else. If you map knowledge and skill across the world and correlate it with the development of that nation, you'll see that the most developed countries have got a lot of knowledge and they've got a lot of skill. There's no abracadabra about this thing. So we have been trying to use our knowledge and skill after the reorientation of our education by His Excellency the President to develop this country. And you can see what has happened. Like Murwira University has got a huge agro-innovation industrial park. University of Zimbabwe, huge agro-innovation industrial park. We have Manicaland University where we are developing the same, and MSU with an industrial park where we are producing a lot of food items, textiles and so forth. Use it with new bread, new oil. We are using fine art engineering with a lot of new biodiesel making equipment, as well as other detergents, as well as cooking oil itself. And you go to verify engineering with medical gases, as well as nitrogen, for cooling stuff, as well as nitrogen for putting in gears and so forth and so on. So you can see that, just to mention a few, we have moved a long way since then to implement this new codified direction, codified in law, but also now codified in action. So there are a lot of things that have happened. We still have to do a lot of things. So I must always be careful not to over-celebrate, because we still have a long way to go. Zimbabwe needs to attain an upper middle income status by 2030. So this is not time to celebrate small gains. It's time to concentrate on moving forward. So we have moved a lot with Education 5.0. You know very well now that we are drinking Murwira wine. Yes. It is all over the world now. It's being promoted by the Ministry of Tourism and Hospitality Industry through ZTA. And wherever they are moving, they are promoting our heritage-based education for industrialization and modernization of this country through innovation of our young people, combined with our more experienced people. Because a nation is developed by young and old people. Old people give stability. Young people give energy. Energy and stability gives movement. Right. So this is the movement that we are making. Right.
Appreciating that particular movement, Honorable. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back with more Face the Nation. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Face the Nation, and today we're currently joined in studio by the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technological Development, Professor Amon Murwira. Now, before we're looking at a heritage-based 5.0 model, the structures that have currently been put in place to ensure its effectiveness. Looking at some of the innovations that may come from the innovation hubs, the incubation centers within tertiary institutions, what then happens, or how are you managing the intellectual property, the patents of some of these innovations in terms of their application for commercial viability?
Oh, thank you, Farai. We have actually a system of innovation from the reception of ideas from three pipelines. One, it can be a community pipeline where people are coming who are not from faculty. And then people from industry can go to the innovation hubs. Right. And also people, I said people from community, people from industry, people from faculty. So these are three pipelines that get into the innovation hub. When an idea has been found to be very good, it's then incubated. And after it has been incubated, it results into either a good or a service. And this good or a product or a service has to be subjected to registration for the protection of intellectual property rights. Right. And we have so far been able to make industrial designs or patents. More than 500 have now been registered across all our institutions. Right. So, and I will just give you an example of one product that has been patented by Aripo, which was done through MSU, which is a rod surface material to make the rods stronger. When it's hot, they can just be a little elastic without cracking. When it's cold, they can be shrink a bit, but without cracking. So we believe that this is the whip against potholes. So we have patented this, and His Excellency the President, Dr. Mnangagwa, has allocated us resources to make a whole factory complex to make this material in Zvishavane, and very soon, which might be this year, depending on the timetable of His Excellency, we will be able to open this factory. This is just showing you that we work on industrial designs, we work on patents and products which are protected so that we are able to have national dignity within ourselves, self-respect within ourselves, and good neighborliness, because people want people who know what they are doing. Right. As neighbors.
It does seem as though that within the incubation hubs there is a large element of knowing exactly what's being done. Maybe you could tie us into innovations that speak to the backbone of Zimbabwe's economy, agriculture and mining. Where and what can we currently say has come out with regards to innovation?
Yeah, what our innovation system is human needs based. Sure. In other words, we use what is called design thinking. We do an innovation based on what our country needs. And then we put it in our innovation system through our education in order to produce pipeline industries that are then able to feed into our people's needs. I will talk about food, for example. What is it that we need in this country? First of all, we need food, because you, me, and Farai, Farai and myself, we are food. Amon and Farai are food. We are food, isn't it?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, with a soul. We are food with a soul. Now, in order for us to ensure food security, one of the directions of this republic, Second Republic, under Dr. Mnangagwa, is to ensure food security and use traditional grains as part of our weapons against hunger. So what have we done? The University of Zimbabwe, for example, has produced new seed varieties for Munga, for Zio, for Mapfunde, under the what we call VN seeds, which is called Vakanyika seeds. So we are working on patenting these things which are based on food. In the health area, as I said, we are making stuff with heat. And I know at some point there were some people saying, hey, the Minister of Higher Education said they are making ventilators at heat. Yes, we are making them, and they are under testing because these are health products. And they are going to be coming out, and they are very nice. And SADC has actually supported us by giving us more money for heat to do this. And with Verify Engineering, as you know, we are producing medical oxygen. Everybody needs medical oxygen.
Right.
We are talking like here because we are breathing oxygen.
Yes.
If we faint here, we might need a bit of more
Need
artificial oxygen that we are making. So we are doing that in the medical area.
Right.
And we are doing, improving our cattle breeds at Chinoy University using artificial insemination and breeding. This is for agriculture. This is for food.
Right.
We are also at Bindura doing goat insemination, which is goat breeding. We are also doing the same thing at Lupane State University.
Right.
So we are working on products and services that are basically of relevance to our people. Let me just be very basic. We need food. We need water. We need health. We need shelter.
Right.
Right? We need transportation, movement. For us to be here, if I sitting here,
Right.
we were transported here.
Yes.
So we need movement. So we look at all these areas of human needs and then work on products that make our life better. So if you say, what is human dignity? Human dignity is achieved when we have food, when we have shelter, when we have water, when we have connection, right? When we have innovation. So all our inventions
Right.
are made for human dignity. A strong nation has strengths in producing food for itself, in having a health service for itself, in producing good minerals for itself, in doing things that make life livable. So our innovation is not esoteric. It's not something which is untouchable.
Right.
It's not something which is not tangible.
Right.
It's something that we can touch. It's something that leads to dignity for people. It basically means we are doing innovations that are lifting the industrial landscape of this country. But what you also have to know is that we plant trees. We don't consume fruits from trees that we did not plant. Innovation is a way of plant trees. Let's plant the forests so that we enjoy the shade.
Right.
Because sometimes people want products, but they don't want to plant the seed.
Right. Is this Zimbabwe's significant drive towards industrialization? And if so, how are you looking at it being able to ensure that you retain all of these brilliant minds that have developed innovation for the heritage-based model in Zimbabwe?
We are developing a people that are able to do these things. Some people will stay, some people can move. But the system of producing people like this is to stay. Farai and myself, in the next 90 years, we'll be on a video because we'll be dead.
Right.
But the system of television will still be there.
Right.
That's how our attitude towards developing a nation. We develop our nation knowing very well that we'll play our part and we'll do our best in playing our part. And we should not tire producing people. Farai today could be saying, oh, I don't want to work for ZBC anymore and I want to go and work, for example, in country X. But when you work in country X, you send us money.
Right.
That's why we have got $2 billion remittances in this country. They are the people that we have educated that are still feeding their motherland.
Right.
So we want to retain as many people as possible, but we want to produce as many people as possible who will move out, and some people will move in, and some people will stay.
Right. Now, looking at that retention system, and I'm glad that you put it quite succinctly that those who want to be able to leave will still ultimately contribute towards the development of Zimbabwe. Where do we stand with regards to our peers in the African continent in innovation, especially when it comes to being able to make sure that the African agenda is addressed?
Zimbabwe is a Pan-African country. Zimbabwe, a Pan-Africanist country,
Right.
not only in rhetoric. We believe with the heritage-based education 5.0, we are bringing back the dignity of Africa
Right.
by making sure that Africa begins to look in the direction of producing capacity for itself.
Right.
And we are also knowing that this will not happen in the next 2 years, in the next 5 years, but the journey which we have started is a journey for the dignity of Africa. And we believe that any country with its self-dignity will do this, whether it's in Africa or outside. Look at any country that is developed. They follow exactly this philosophy. They say, we ourselves in relation with others. We respect ourselves first and foremost, and we respect others as well.
Right.
But you respect others as long as you respect yourself. So by respecting yourself, it means you do things that make this world a better place, starting from Zimbabwe. So we believe our message is for a message for Africa, is for a message for ourselves, is a message for the world to say, Zimbabwe, this is what we stand for. We stand for hard work through our knowledge and skill, and through cooperating with others, of course, but maintaining our identity and dignity. So we believe that we are moving this country brick by brick, stone upon stone. That saying by His Excellency the President is one of the most powerful sayings if you want to listen to it with your soul. And if you listen to Nyika inovakwa nevene vayo with your soul, we say Nyika inovakwa nevene vayo with heritage-based education 5.0. And it's a movement towards the industrialization and modernization of this country with our hands, with our minds.
Would it be fair to say, Professor Murwira, that science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are the cornerstone of being able to meet innovation in Zimbabwe?
First of all, it's about self-belief.
Okay.
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are tools. If you use science, technology, engineering, and mathematics without heritage, without respecting yourself, you run away from your shadow, which is not possible. So, it is science, it's technology, it's innovation, it's engineering and mathematics as tools of a self-respecting person. So a self-respecting person will employ these tools better. It's like a kitchen knife. You can use it to cut meat, or you can use it for murder.
When will we get to that? That's a good way to put it. That you can use it for meat.
So you can murder yourself.
Yes.
If you don't use science, technology, innovation, engineering, and mathematics properly. If you don't believe in yourself, you'll be used like a tool by others who know their philosophy of employing these tools.
And I'll take it from there. All right, on that particular note, we will take a short break and be right back with more Face the Nation. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Face of the Nation, and today we're taking a very close look at all things to do with our innovation. I'm joined in studio by the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technological Development, Professor Imanmura, and looking very closely at how the heritage-based 5.0 model has contributed towards Zimbabwe meeting its vision for 2030. Now, looking at some of the developments that have taken place, Professor Murwira, can you also openly say that we now have students who are skilled to fit into the modern industrial workplace and can also match the international standards for workforces?
I can say that without any equivocation. We have some of the most intelligent and skilled young people in this country, or products, or graduates in this country. What we are doing in the direction in which we are going is a direction that any naturally self-respecting country would go. So I am confident, if you go around the world and you do literature review of what is happening in education systems, you will be able to see that Zimbabwe's redesigned, reconfigured education system will give us the capabilities that we require for meeting our national strategic intent that is competitive for our objective, competitive continentally, competitive internationally. So we have redesigned our education system in that way. I am sure the product of this system is in demand across the world. One of the issues which is very important is to know that the heritage-based education 5.0 model is basically designed for the industrialization and modernization of this country, using its minerals, using its climate, using its plants, using its people, using its water, using itself as a wall, applying mathematics or chemistry to our rocks so that we have mineral wealth, applying our biology to our plants so that we have new medicines. So this is our approach to say, we, as I said before, we are planting a forest here. Right. And part of this forest is already at a stage where we can harvest some of the trees. And we'll keep on building this forest. And it's a long journey of dignity. And as long as people know that, like right now, we are in 2024, which means 2024 years after the death of Christ. Right. And they will be able to see how we grew this seed. Right. And by that time, how that seed is a nice forest which they are enjoying. As long as we have this mentality, we'll push this country to prosperity. Right. As soon as we are in the now mentality, we will suffer as a nation.
Right. You said very clearly, Professor Murwira, that Heritage 5.0 model is commodity-based, that either a good or a service must be established. Now, with Zimbabwe etching towards becoming a middle to upper income society, how then does this dovetail to be able to ensure that those individuals who are going to meet that need are capacitated to do so?
That's exactly what we are doing. As I said, for us, for heritage-based education 5.0 to work, we have to look at 5 elements that we have to address. One, the programs that we are pursuing. What is it in agriculture that we have to pursue in agriculture? Sure. What are we studying? For example, I've talked about our traditional crops, right? Our traditional fruits, right? That's what we will be studying. Now, then number 2, if the programs, okay, I've just given an example of agriculture. Sure. Number 2, who is doing or capacity, who is doing these programs, right? Which means the human capital, the people. What are their attitudes? What are their values? What are their abilities? Yeah? What are their skills? So we look at the human capital, right? Configuration and all these attributes of that human capital. Number 3, we look at the infrastructure, the physical and digital infrastructure. Right. Number 4, we look at the laws that have to help us. Nokuti zvino murayiro zvinezvi tinonyora murayiro wokuti zvinhu zvedu zviite zvakanaka, laws. And then 5, the financial infrastructure and the pipelines that we have to use to finance these things. Right. And if you have got these 5 elements and we start working in these 5 elements from 0% to 1% to 2% and to up to 100%, this country will never be the same in the shortest possible time.
On a final closing point, Professor Murwira, the Zarabani Basin has discovered oil and gas. Yes. Exploration has resulted in extraction. Yes. Recently, we've discovered that beneficiation is the main drive now for the mineral deposits. Surely, we should be able to see innovation in that regard for us to be able to justify the direction that we're taking for heritage-based 5.0 model in development.
True. Oil is our heritage too. Gas is our heritage too, because we discovered it in Mzarabani. Just like coal is our heritage too in Wange. So our programs, if you look at our redesigned programs, like for example at the University of Zimbabwe, we have got BSc, petroleum chemistry. Right. We have got mineral exploration. That's it. And we are implementing the Pan-African Minerals University of Science and Technology. Brilliant. So this is the direction that we are going. And as I say again, Farai, building a country is a patience game. And you must know that you are a brick and there will be a brick above you. Right. And many bricks above you. As long as you know that, you will know that you are just part of a matrix of the development of this country. You are not the alpha and omega, but you are the alpha plus 1, alpha plus 2, and so forth and so on. So we will build this country.
Would it be fair in closing to say, be the brick and play your part?
That's correct.
All right. Professor Murwira, thank you so much for your time, and we definitely do look forward to speaking to you again in future.
Thank you.
Well, that's all the time that we did have here today on our Face the Nation. We're speaking there to the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technological Development, Professor Amon Murwira. Please take advantage of our social media platforms. Send us your questions, comments, and your contributions. That's all the time that we have for now. Pleasant evening.